Palm to Apple, Ashley. Apple just weeks away now from releasing its highly anticipated iPad, but the company reportedly struggling to secure content agreements for the device. According to this morning's Wall Street Journal, Apple is still negotiating with media companies to cut prices on TV shows that people could download to the iPad. The Journal also saying that Apple is putting a plan together to work closely with newspaper, magazine, and textbook publishers. They're putting that on hold, apparently. Some potential partners are weighing the impact of an Apple deal on their current revenue sources. And we're going to go back to Yudi Chang, principal trader at Ace Investments, to talk more about this. And that's the question for many of the media companies. Yeah, this might be the future, but is it worth it now to change and to risk your current revenue models to do something that's a lot cheaper, right, on the iPad? What do you think they'll do?
Yeah, that's exactly the question for the media company. I think for Apple itself, they really do have the foresight. Rather than just coming out with a device, they're trying to line up the content. So that's the correct thing to do. I think basically the problem they're having, like you were saying, it is with the media, the TV, and the newspapers. I think they want them to cut costs. But in resistance, they're also saying that your iPad doesn't really support Adobe, which is the major
Flash,
technology that they use. So I think that eventually is going to get worked out. I think the market itself, though, right now is saying that they liked the prosperity of it. Ever since Apple announced that, the stock has went up about 15% or so.
It's interesting because the other day, even when they started selling them on the pre-orders, the reports coming in, and then none of it confirms that they're selling hundreds of thousands of them. And who knows, maybe some of that is just Apple hasn't confirmed the numbers yet. Maybe some of that's just rumor and speculation. But would you be wary of buying something like this in a first-generation device just because issues like this with the content providers might come up? It doesn't have the Adobe Flash in it, as you mentioned, so maybe waiting a while from a consumer point of view might make sense, no?
Yeah, it does. I think for the Apple iPhone when it first came out, I never bought the first generation of it, so I personally will wait a little bit. But don't forget, there are also tech junkies out there. They want to buy into the hype.
Exactly. Oh, absolutely, yeah, because they have to have the latest device. But do you think this is the future in terms of would you be betting investment dollars on this type of a device, whether it's Apple or another company modifying their device to make it look like Apple's? They seem to have agreements in place, for example, with the booksellers, and we're looking at some of the examples of that right now that are fairly strong. Is this the future? Is this what we're all going to have? A couple of these around our houses and no more hardcover of anything, I guess? Hard copy of anything?
I think so. Yeah? I really think that's the way the future is going to be. It's just a matter of price and the extent of the content it's going to offer. Like right now, one of the major stumbling block is that Apple really would like people to get movies for about 99 cents. Right now it's selling for about $1.99 to $2.99, so they're trying to get the cost down to make it more popular.
Will the media companies be able to work something out here that they can be profitable and do well in an environment which is different than the one that they've been operating in for years? I mean, obviously some of this is just negotiating tactics at this point, right? What about the media company side of it?
I think eventually they'll probably come to terms with Apple, but they'll put up a lot of resistance, like the record companies.
Because will people, that's right, and the question is, will people be willing to pay up to get a newspaper or a magazine on this device, or have we become just so used to getting everything for free?
Yeah, I think eventually people will probably have to pay. Like we were talking about, your boss is saying that, well, to get the basic news, it's still going to be free. However, if you want to get the premium news, you will have to pay up a little bit for it.
Well, Mr. Murdoch at News Corp has been on the front, as you allude to, on the front and center of that, because Wall Street Journal, which is owned by News Corp, already charges for content, and there've been plans that he's talked about for many of the other platforms to do something similar. New York Times by next year will be charging for content. It's just, was there a mistake made earlier where companies like the New York Times should have charged years ago, or that people would have been willing to pay, or were they just not willing to pay? What's your take on that debate?
Well, I think eventually people will probably have to pay, but right now it's a timing issue too, right? In the middle of this kind of economy, all of a sudden you're telling people what they've been getting for free for years, now they have to pay up for it. It's probably not going to be easy to do. But like I said, probably eventually everything's going to get worked out, but eventually people will be getting used to it and start paying for these things.
Yeah, you would think so. Now, the other part of it is an investment side, right? And you talked about Apple's stock price. You like that one, by the way?
Yeah, I do. It's around about 224, 226. I think it's going to go into 260. I like it a lot.
260, really? Yeah. So you guys own Apple, or you're buyers of Apple?
Yeah, we are. We do own Apple, and we are still
Is that
buyers.
A play on technology, or just the specifics of what we're talking about with things like the iPad and innovation that Apple is doing? You think tech stocks in general are a good place to be right now, or is it just an Apple play?
Well, I think I like the tech stock in general. And
do?
on top of it, I like Apple within the tech sector. So I like both aspects.
Right,
of
so
it.
Apple is kind of the best of the bunch in there, the best in breed, so to speak, as they say on Wall Street. What other tech stocks are attractive to you right now, other types of technology?
I think the networkers, Cisco systems still I like. I think
Cisco.
Intel, maybe the chips, because you think about all these companies who's been held back technology purchasing for the past years.
And that's starting to come around?
Yep.
It has to, right? The cycle. It has to at some point, and maybe we're getting closer to that. All right, Yudi Chang will be with us on our Internet show the next hour as well from Ace Invest.